Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Podcasting Podcast. And I'm super happy today to introduce my guest. Her name is Emily Aborn, and she is a small business copywriter, speaker, and podcast host. She's been an entrepreneur for over a decade, and she has experience running brick and mortar and online businesses. She's collaborated with thousands of individuals in over 115 industries as a copywriter. We're definitely going to talk about that. And she brings personality, creativity, and message to life as she guides others to build community and relationship-based businesses. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you, Demetria. Thanks so much for having me.
You're so welcome. Okay, that said, I've just read this bio about you, but I'd love to hear you just share some of the things that, just tell us about yourself, what makes you happy, what makes Emily, Emily.
I hear you, because whenever you hear a bio, either about yourself or someone else, you're like, okay, tell me who this person really is. So I live in New Hampshire, which is actually kind of saying a little bit for anybody who lives up in the northeastern part of the United States. It's a little bit of a different pace. We move quick up here, and people are a little I don't want to say chilly, because you're not, but you're definitely it's definitely a certain way. And people in the Northeast get it.
Yeah.
So we have a very rural lifestyle here, and I read a lot of books, and I spend a lot of mornings building a fire in my wood stove and bringing wood in.
I love that. That sounds cozy.
Yeah. Hiking in the woods and adventuring outdoors. And summer, I gotta say, is my absolute favorite season, because it's the only time I am happy outside.
Really? Oh yeah. I assumed.
Yeah.
Summer. Yeah. So, for us, I think, and I can't really complain, because it's sort of the same all year long in California. It's not that seasonal. I love fall, just because we get to see a little bit of color. Yeah. So love to hear that you like summer. Okay, so how about things that really, really make you happy in terms of your personal hobbies? You've told me a little bit about you like hiking and making fire in your fireplace, and just kind of the climate and the coziness of that. What are some personal hobbies that you do that really maybe kind of bring that into how you operate in business? So some fun things you do on your own, personal, but also how does that correlate to what brings you into your business?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a big time reader. And I do think that every great writer is also a avid reader. I think you have to kind of you're not copying people. You're learning what you love and what you don't love, and why you love it, and what feels like, what has a feeling to it when you're reading a certain sentence and things like that. So it really does. It is like books. I've always said since I was a little kid, I've been reading since I was very, very young. And I'm like, those are my biggest teachers in life. So I'm a big time reader. And then I'm also a really big family person. Both myself and my husband have pretty big families. We don't have any kids of our own, but we have the most fabulous nieces and nephews. Mm-hmm. And we just love being able to spend time with them. So it's really important to me that my business is, yes, successful. Yes, making me money. Yes, I'm always growing it and engaging with new clients and things. And I also have time for downtime and relaxing on my own. And I'm also getting time with my family. So I really have been working, hard over the past 2 years about making sure that my business also mirrors my top priorities in my life and the things that I value, because that was not the case prior to that. It was really just very focused, sitting at my desk all the time, any second I could get. And that's not a really sustainable approach if you have other pieces of your life that are really, really important to you.
Right. That's so important. And I love bringing that out. I love that you mentioned that, because having a business is there's a lot of plates in the air constantly, and we're so inclined to just work through all of it, especially type A personalities. We want to get the box is checked and we want to get the work done. And it's so easy to stay glued to our computer screens and just keep working. But I love that you brought up something really important, which is balance. And even though there's no such thing as the perfect balance, like it sounds like you found what works for you in terms of how do you do your work, when do you do it, and then when do you have family time, and what sustains you, what feels good for you. So that's so important. I love
Yeah.
that.
And to your point of there not being balance, I think it's good to realize like, okay, I'm in a season of XYZ. So this
Right.
past year was a really busy year. And it was like one of those where for some reason you're like staying up late to do things. Like that's
Yeah.
not my style, but like that just happened a lot this
Yeah.
year. So I had a really heavy duty work year. And things were also coming at me from like all angles, like with my family and person, like just like lots of
Right.
stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm trying to give like my all to everything, right? And also give my all to my work. And I came to the end of it and I was like, I think I'm not burned out, but just like, oh my gosh, I need a break. So now starting tomorrow, I'm so excited. When we're recording this, it's like almost the holidays. So
Yeah.
I am taking like a very long time off for all making up for all the time off I did not get over the past year. And I could not be more excited. But knowing that these past 2 weeks have been like crazy, like
Yeah.
just busy, 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 going in all directions. And I'm like, okay, you can get through it when you realize it's just a season. When you're riding a wave, you're like, the wave's going to break and then another one's going to come
Uh-huh.
along and it's going to be okay.
Yep.
And that helps me kind of get through to the next
That
section, I
next
guess.
season. That's so
Yeah.
important. And I love that you're looking forward to your downtime and you factor that into your life so that you know it's there, it's coming, and that you're gonna eventually have that time to just chill. So
Yeah.
that's so good. And it's such a encouragement for us listening to because a lot of us we are solopreneurs, we're entrepreneurs, we are doing this thing on our own. Sometimes we have a small team, some don't, and doing a lot of work like this nonstop, it's a recipe for burnout if we don't factor in those moments of having a downtime. And I love that you pre-planned it. So very good, good for you, and thank you for sharing that because it's encouraging us to do the same thing.
Yeah. And I'd say, especially when you're doing something creative, like
Yeah,
working on a podcast or something, because that's a
yeah,
lot of output,
it
and
is.
your brain needs that rest from it,
Exactly.
whether it be just binging Netflix for a couple of days or reading a book, like you
Yeah.
need the time off from productive output and just taking things in. So
Absolutely. Yes. So you do a lot of work with copywriting, speaking, hosting your podcast. Tell us what your business is. What do you do? How do you help your clients? And then I would love your story of how you got into copywriting.
well, maybe I'll start with the story just because
Okay.
it's a weird one.
Okay.
Since I was a little kid, I have always wanted to have my own business. That's
Mhm.
just been like a part of who I am. I've always been like the lemonade stand kid. I did weird businesses like I tried to open like a summer camp for kids, but this was before I realized you need like liability insurance for
Oh
such
my
things. I'm like 10
God.
years old. I'm like, let's start a summer camp.
Yes.
So all
I love it.
all those kind of things, like my whole life, I was just trying to like figure out a business I could make work. I had a Etsy shop for a while, stuff like
Wow.
that. So, fast forwarding, I actually ended up going to college for health education. And my kind of like idea was to be like a health teacher or like do personalized health work with people. This was like before health coaching was really a thing.
Mhm.
Um, so I found myself in a lot of jobs that were like around health and wellness, like gyms and chiropractors and all sorts of things, health food stores. And in every single one of those roles, I found myself in sort of like a marketing, like, let's grow the business or like, let me write that for you, like those kind of roles.
Wow.
So let's bookmark that. Well, from working for a chiropractor, I actually opened my husband and I opened like a healthy sleep shop. It was retail.
Okay.
So we sold like bedding, mattresses. Actually, in a lot of our companies were in California because California has a good green mattress production over there. So we sold a lot of those things, and then finally we kind of decided we were going to be just the way the market was going and stuff. We decided we were going to pivot that, close the business, and then I had to figure out what I was doing next. And I had I had this health degree. I'm like, I'm not really that interested in other people's health. Like, I like my health. And I think that's why the 18-year-old brain was like, go to school for health, Emily, so you can learn for yourself.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't really like something I was interested in. So
Yeah.
I had to go through like this kind of process of saying, well, what can I help people with? And people were always asking me, like, they would read my emails for the mattress store and be like, "Ooh, can you write my emails?" Like, I bartered with this lady, and I would get clothing for writing her email newsletters.
Wow.
She'd like give me clothing credit to get
Yeah.
to do her emails and stuff. So it was all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of how I started. I just kind of like said yes to people, like, sure, I'll help you with your newsletter or your website or whatever,
Uh-huh.
your social media, whatever the case may be. And then I kind of realized I don't like to be the one that's like posting to people's social media and designing their site. And like, I don't need all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I really niched down into copywriting only. Like, I only do the writing. It's for a lot of things, websites and social and blogs and portfolios, and it goes on and on.
Wow.
But it's strictly the writing. So it was a really weird journey. But looking back, I'm able to like follow those threads my whole life. Like, I've always loved writing. I've always been a writer. I had a copywriting job without even realizing it was a
Didn't even
copywriting
know.
job. I literally filled in for somebody for their copywriting. I just had no clue that was the thing, you know?
I love to hear journeys into entrepreneurship and what got you where you are today, because I mean, it's beautiful to see that so many people say, when they tell me, okay, I didn't start off wanting this particular thing or knowing what I wanted to do, and my journey just took me there. And it's almost like fate, but at the same time, it's probably something that you're going to end up doing eventually, because your path led you there for a reason. And so I think it's really cool to hear these stories of how you start at one thing and then end up at something completely not what you planned, but you're here for a reason. And look at you now, and look what you're doing, and how many people you're helping. So that's amazing to me. I would love to know, like, what is one of your favorite things with copywriting? Like, how is it with, like, how is your business, and how is it going for you? How do you feel about it? And where's your passion there? Like, I just want to hear all about it.
Yeah, so I'd say one of my favorite things is when somebody comes and they have this really, like, people often think when it comes to putting themselves on their websites or online that they have to be a different version of themselves. So
Mm.
they sort of have to like button things up and, be all this professional, blah, blah, blah. And I love helping people see that like you can be professional and you can also let your personality out. And that looks different for everybody. So not everybody is quirky and silly and funny and tongue in cheek, So we kind of get to blend whatever their personality is into that copy. And I love it. I love being able to show them something and be like, this is you. What do you think?
Yeah.
And most of the time I get, like, today I got one and she's like, oh my God, I just looked and I'm so excited to read more because it's so exciting. It like feels just like me. So that's my favorite part of my job.
Yeah.
My least favorite, or like things that are kind of like happening right now in the copywriting space, is AI.
Yeah.
And I will say,
About to ask you about that.
it's super frustrating
Yeah.
to see. It's actually not. It's heartbreaking to see people outsource their personality and their creativity to something that like just is not capturing it. And trust me, I know, like, I use the tools. And I know how to train the tools to help me find people's voices. It does not do as good of a job as you think it does. Like, people will be like, oh yeah, it captured my voice. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but it didn't. Like, I can tell that AI wrote that. And if
Wow.
I can tell, chances are people can feel it. It's
Yeah.
something you can feel. So that is a hindrance right now. Just only in that I think people think, oh, well, I can just have AI write it for me instead of doing it myself. And I will just say there is something that goes from the head to the heart to the fingers, when somebody is writing their own stuff
Yeah,
that AI has not yet managed to capture. So
exactly.
maybe that will change. You keep using it as your therapist and your doctor and your BFF, but don't use it as your copywriter.
Don't use it as your copywriter.
I'm just
That's the
kidding. Don't.
message.
The therapists listening are like, oh God, no.
Right, right. Oh, I love that you brought this up because this is a concern for so many of us creatives. And so we're just wondering, okay, like when will it get to the point when we're like, okay, everybody's using AI instead of the person who has the
Yeah.
heart and the soul to provide that service in a much more efficient way and in a more humane way. So, yeah, I think that's really important for us to think about that and not immediately think that AI is going to solve everything. And
Yeah.
that's really important. But you're also podcasting. So I want to hear about your
Yeah.
podcast and what inspired you to start your show.
Yeah. So again, that's something funny enough that like I've loved since I was a kid. I was that kid that like would record my own shows in the kitchen on the tape recorder and
Yeah.
um yeah. Anyway, I've wanted to do that since I was really, really little. But finally, when I worked for actually a chiropractor, I got to be her co-host. And I was sort of like the peanut gallery at the time, like the one that was like the health skeptic, I guess. And so I
Uh-huh.
got to be like like play devil's advocate, which is super fun for my personality.
Yeah.
But it was not until 2018 when I started podcasting for myself. And the way I started was I took a class on how to podcast. I actually took it twice so that I would be like super prepared, right? Which
Mhm.
I want to say, like, you don't need to do that. Like you
Right.
have all the tools and the resources, understand the tech you need, and there you go. You're off to the
Yeah.
races.
Yeah.
So I definitely overcomplicated it for myself. I started my first podcast interviewing New England women entrepreneurs. And I had like a super fancy studio. I paid somebody to edit. It was like to the nines, right?
Wow.
And then COVID hit. And I was like, okay, I need to start doing these for my house. But it was such a blessing in disguise because it opened me up to be able to talk to people all over the world. So now I could talk to people in Australia. I could talk to people, all across the globe. And that was very exciting. And I did that for 5 years. And then in 2023, I said, this is fantastic. I'm loving hearing people's stories. I'm loving having guests. I'm loving like sharing this. And I also need to sync this up for my copywriting business
Yeah.
because the two were running in totally different directions. So, and the first podcast was sort of attached to another business that I had at the same time. So I had a lot going on. So I slowly kind of faded out that podcast. Before I had even faded it, I started my current podcast, Small Business Casual, which I love. And it is mostly solo. And I think when people hear that, they're like, what? And then they're like, they must be super short episodes, right? I'm like, no, some of them are like 40 minutes. And I will say, I absolutely love it. It is so fun because I have the kind of brain that like you get me on a topic, as you can probably tell. You get me on a topic and I'm like, okay, I have to like read all of the art.
Yeah.
Like I'll read like 10 articles sometimes before I put together an episode. So
Yeah.
I'm just like reading and like finding and like it's like a curation for me. And it's really satisfying and fun. And like, even if nobody was listening, I would probably do it anyway because it is filling something for me in my content creation that I don't get to do for my clients. Like my clients aren't like, read 40 articles and then get
Right.
back to me. So I
Yeah.
get to do this and people really love it. I get really great feedback and like am fostering this awesome community within it. Like, here's what will happen. I will post your episode and people that listen to my podcast will like listen to your episode because they just listen to every episode I'm on, which is so sweet
Yeah.
and like means the world. So I think what I would like say in the whole journey is two things. One is like, do not be afraid to pivot when you need to. Like, our podcasts are experiments and we want them to be successful. And it's okay when you have to like follow the writing on the wall and change that a little bit, whether it means, okay, I need to start a whole different podcast. Like, I can't just rebrand and rework this one.
Yeah.
Or whether it means, you just need to shift yours a little bit. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is consistency. Like I know we all hear it and it's like a tired
The
word.
buzzword.
Yeah, but I can't even tell you, like I have been doing it every single week, sometimes a couple times a week
Yeah.
since 2018. And like it's that keeps me in my seat. It's the people listening. And it's the fact that I'm just like, well, this is what I do. Like it's not even really a decision I make. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, I have to do an episode. I have to do
Yeah.
an episode.
It's part of
And
your
that,
routine.
yeah, exactly. And that has resulted in, like 500 episodes. So I think
Wow.
it's just not all for this show, but between the two, right?
Right.
So I think it's good to remember when you are a podcaster, like it does take a level of commitment, but if you just say, you know what, I'm just going to be consistent with this. This is the time of week I do it. And then you keep going with that commitment is actually way easier than it seems because it's just not really an option to not be committed.
Right. Oh, I love all the points you've just made. And you've actually covered a couple of the questions I was going to ask you. So this is perfect that you're sharing the value of podcasting for you, that it's a part of your business, but it's really just a part of how you process information, and it's helping you to get some type of personal satisfaction from it. And you get the community. So that's number 2. And then you're consistent with your content. It's part of your lifestyle. So that's number 3. And these are all aspects of things that I was going to ask you in a few minutes. So you kind of covered it all in one fell swoop.
Well, I think, yeah, like podcasts are a great way, I think, to find your voice. Like you're finding it as much as you're using it. You're like, I don't even know who I am or what I want to say. And it really does help you. And I hear that time and time and time again from fellow podcasts. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. So have you found that it's been a part of your growth as an individual, like your mental, emotional, all of that?
And I will say, I hear some people are like, they say they can't stand the sound of their voice. And I'm like, you should get used to it because it really does help you to listen back to your interviews. It helps you to listen back to your episodes.
Yeah.
You start to learn the things that you do and that you're like, I don't want to be doing that. Or the things that the way you interview. Like I used to always say, oh, I love that after every single answer the guest gave. And then I would just like move on to my next question, like not like engage with it, just be like, I love that. And then move on. And I heard it and I was like, oh my God, I do that literally every time. It became it was like a joke in my house. Like my husband would be like, I love that. Because I did it so often.
I'm embarrassed because I think I do that a lot.
I haven't heard you yet. But that was like funny. All I would say. So I know people are like, I can't stand to listen to myself. And I'm like, you should try to do a couple, like give yourself a couple where you do listen back to it because it really does help you grow, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It's been a journey and I've learned so much about myself, and I have gone back and listened to episodes that I created 18 years ago.
Same.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, that has to come down like right now. I have to take that off. I can't have anybody listening to those. So there's just a lot of growth, and I love that we get to document that journey and to go back and listen to how things were said and how we interact, how we engage with our guests, and even just when we're on mic, like how our thought processes were years ago versus today. And I've just seen so much growth personally in my life, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is part of the podcasting journey, is our personal growth. And I've learned so much, right? It's just, there's a lot to learn from other people, but also through our research. And you said that you research a lot and read so many articles just to prepare for your episodes. So that's all part of the growth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about how you've collaborated with hundreds of industries. And so I know podcasters who want to start guesting, maybe they're solo podcasters, but they kind of want to know who they should bring on and who they should partner with. So do you have any recommendations or anything that you can share that would help us with not having mismatched relationships?
Yeah, great question. So in that, collaborating with a lot of industries, that's with copywriting. So let's put that aside. So that's like, I write for a lot of different types of people, and that kind of speaks to, I can speak to you from from anything from tractors to hypnosis, like you name it,
Wow.
we'll get your message.
Hmm.
Okay. So putting that aside, I think I was thinking about this earlier actually because somebody reached out to me on Podmatch, and most of the matches I get on Podmatch are fantastic. However, sometimes there's some that just are not a great fit, and I can tell. And this one was something specifically like the name of their podcast didn't align with like one of my values, and I'm like, well, I wouldn't be able to share the episode. So is that really doing them like if I'm going on and I'm already like uncomfortable that anybody would associate my name with the name of that show, that's
Right.
not a good fit right there.
Right.
So I think it starts like if we want to go big picture, it starts with values.
Values. Yeah.
And then like I did with yours, and I think I would encourage people to do this is to listen to somebody's show before you say yes to it. Like even if it's
Right.
just one episode, even if it's just 10 minutes of an episode,
Yes.
because you get a sense of their style. And like instantly I heard yours. I'm like, wow, very genuine person, asks great questions, knows what she's doing. I would
Thank
love
you.
to be a guest. So, and I do
Yeah.
not say that, but sometimes I listen, I'm like, oh no, they're in a sardine can recording. So I think you have to kind of advocate for yourself as a guest, like
Yeah.
making sure, you know, the quality of the podcast is going to be good
Exactly.
and the interview quality is going to be good. And also advocate for the listeners. So as a guest, you have to be thinking about who are their listeners? Am I going to make a good guest to be in front of those people? Or is it going to be just like totally random and off topic and not at all helpful?
Right.
And I think a lot of that comes with practice and time and saying no. Like you know, we all want to be guests on people's shows, and you get
Right.
one, you're like, oh my god, this is, but you should not probably say yes to, just like a host does not say yes to every pitch,
Right.
a guest also probably is not going to say yes to every
Right.
pitch. And I think it, you know, it depends on what stage you're at in your journey. But like I'm pretty choosy where like if somebody has under, let's say 50 episodes, I'm typically like probably not the best fit. But that also depends. Sometimes I'll look at one, I'm like, well, they're just starting out, but like I think it'll be great.
Right.
So that depends. But the other thing, I guess, as a tip I would give is to sit down as a guest if you're thinking about guesting and like really come up with 3 things you could talk about in your sleep, like 3 soapboxes, if you will. But 3 things you could talk about in your sleep. And then like I like to have them sort of outlined for myself so that if you were to come here and say, Emily, we're talking about this today, out of the 3 things I sent you, we could go on any one of those topics and I'd be like ready to go,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I also then have 3 things that I can send to anyone, give them options, which I think is nice. I used to love that as a host. And you then are kind of like niched in your topics. So, and like be creative with the names of things. Don't be like, you know, oh my gosh, like not how to be your authentic self. Like great, but that doesn't really give us a lot, you know? So maybe it's something different, like 5 steps to, I don't know, make your next big decision or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think just being really specific with your things that you're pitching is super helpful. And I know I just gave you a whole bunch of ideas.
Oh no, that's so good. It's so good. And I wish you could just do a whole like TED Talk here. Yes, we need it. But this is so helpful because what it's sharing with us is that being very specific matters, but we can only be specific if we know our values. And so starting with that overarching, okay, what are my values as a host? And also if I'm a guest, what are my values? What am I bringing to that podcast? It's so important. I have one more question for you before we kind of get into how to pull this all together. But as a copywriter, I'm wondering about repurposing, because that's something that we often have to figure out, okay, where is this going? Because I have one piece of content and I've got so many things to make this whole business work, like the ecosystem of my entire podcast, right? So what are some of your suggestions for making our business work as we're podcasting and not only have content just for the podcast? How can we make this work in all the different things that we're doing?
Okay, so yeah, no, it's big. We could do a whole episode on repurposing.
Yeah.
It is like my favorite thing because it can make your life so much easier. But what I like even more about repurposing is it brings like this level of cohesion. And sometimes people don't even know what is like, they don't even know why. They can't put their finger on it, but they're just like, oh, they're the person talking about this right now. Or they'll like associate you with some thought that they're having or something that they see online. Like, so I'll give you an example. A couple weeks ago, I did a podcast on rest and the 7 different types of rest we need as entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And it's not my original thought. It comes from Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith and her book, Sacred Rest. So I kind of like took her ideas and said, here's how we could do them, for ourselves simply. Go read her book, right?
Right.
So it was like a book report. So all week long, because that was all I was talking about all week long, I was just kind of repurposing pieces of my podcast. People kept sending me memes on rest and like quotes on rest and like something that they had saved to their Instagram stories on rest. Like it was just lots and lots of people being like, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you hear this? Did you hear this? So they associated me with that topic because it was all I was talking about. So in the new year, I want to think even bigger, and I want to encourage people to think even bigger. I think that your life and your business can like be even more seamlessly working together if you kind of think about, all right, for each month, let's say, what is my life and what is my business right now? And like, how can I work those two together throughout my content even? Like not in like the exploiting your life kind of way, but like
integrating.
Yes. So like things I'm doing in my personal life, like how can I bring them also into my business so that it's just like repurposing is just like seamless. But and I also would say to think bigger, using stories in your everyday like if something happens to you at the grocery store, you're like, that's perfect. It's a great example of what I talk about this week. Use it for your email. Think of ways, because we hear about repurposing and we're like, oh, I got to turn this into social posts.
Right.
But it's like so much bigger than that. So
it's bigger than the reels, the shorts, the TikToks, all that stuff. So I love that you're telling us to integrate our personal stories and think about what's happening in the moment and just make our business a part of our life, which is a part of our business, all integrated. And it just makes it so easy because we're just living and breathing and doing life, and our business is a part of that. And why not share and be authentic and real? So that's so good.
And the more you do it, the more you'll see the themes of your stuff come through in your everyday life. And that's the magic of it. So
I love that, Emily. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, I do want you to tell us about how you offer your copywriting services and any other services you offer. How do you support podcasters and solopreneurs through your services, and how can we reach you?
Okay, thanks so much. So everything I do is can be found at emilyaborn.com. I work with clients one-to-one, doing like website copy and, like I said, blogs and emails and social posts and things like that. And then for podcasters specifically, I have some fun stuff. So everything from like helping them with intros and outros to their podcast descriptions and things like that. And I know some of that overlaps with what you do. So I will just say it's all on the website and you can check it out there.
Awesome. No, I love that. I love that you offer specific packages for podcasters in addition to your work with copywriting. So very, very cool. And we will get the links. And so how do we reach you? What's your URL?
Yeah, emilyaborn.com. And it's like acorn with a B.
Okay, perfect. We'll get that in the show notes. And Emily, it has been awesome talking with you. It's been very refreshing, actually. So thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. Yeah.
Thank you, Demetria. Thank you.
You're welcome.